asked me, and I don't have an answer. Where did Cain get his wife and Noah's son after the flood? He had one son on board with him, with his wife that they rescued, but the other son, after the ark landed, the other son took off and he started having children. Where did his wife come from?
All right, I mean, this is a question that comes up. It comes up again and again, and many times. Ray.
The first one was made famous in that Inherit the Wind movie back in like the 40s, and they were making fun of Christianity. You know, where did Cain get his wife? And this theologian on the witness stand is like, oh, I never heard of that. Oh, I must throw my Bible away now. I mean, it's absurd. I don't think she's coming from it from that perspective, but sometimes people simplistically think that they can refute Scripture. Obviously, Cain got his wife from Adam and Eve. She was his sister. There's a good chance he was already married. The Bible just talks about Cain and Abel being born and then Seth, but it says Adam and Eve had other sons and daughters. Adam lived to be 930 years old, so Eve was probably at least that old. And if you multiply times 10, the range of having birth, because that's about times 10 is the lifespan, Eve probably had hundreds of children. And they would have, spread out over the world. So that's easy. The second one, I think what's happening is the only place I know of that shows one of the sons of Noah didn't have a son or didn't have a wife is the movie Noah's Ark with Russell Crowe. Don't get your theology from a movie, get it from Scripture. Clearly in the Bible, they were all three married. Yes. Let me give you the verses. Genesis Chapter 6:18, I will establish my covenant with you, and you shall go into the ark, you, your sons, your wife, and your sons' wives, unless we say, well, maybe that's only two. Genesis 7:13, on that very same day, Noah's sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and Noah's wife, and the three wives of his sons with them entered the ark. So, my apologies to Hollywood, but Ham had a wife. She got on the ark with him. And even if we're just not sure there, go to 1 Peter 4:20, who formerly, while they were disobedient, when the divine long-suffering waited in the days of Noah, while the ark was being prepared, in which a few, that is 8 souls, were saved through water. Noah, his wife, Shem, Ham, Japheth, Mrs. Shem, Mrs. Ham, Mrs. Japheth. There they are, all 8 of them on the ark.
All right. Now, wait a minute, though. Getting back to the first...
and having wine.
Getting back to the first part of that, though, what about, it seems incestuous then? Okay. What about, is Cain marrying his sister then?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I want to let someone else, talk on
that. He is marrying his sister. But you got to look back. I think the closer we get to the original creation, that the genetic system of the body, this is what I believe, took into account, the fact that, you were going to, be marrying someone of close proximity genealogically. As you move away from the original couple, I think, and as sin, was manifested in the body, and I think that the further you got away, that's when the genetic makeup began to, cause problems, and then it began to be wrong. So I would say, that from initially that, God didn't count it as incest, but the further that you got away from the original couple, that I think that, and you go into the law of Moses, because Moses began to, point things like that out. I think that's where it actually became incestuous.
Okay. Any other thoughts, Pete, on this?
No, I agree with both my brothers. I think they...
Is that the point you would take on it, Ray, that it was because of the more purity of the gene pool or whatever?
Yeah, I think the commandment of incest doesn't kick in. Right. It doesn't become that. I mean, Abraham marries half his sister. Right. And that was somewhat unheard of at the time. But, you do see that. And but by the time of the law of Moses, God says, no, you can't do that anymore. And so I think, again, kosher laws, same thing. Up until the time of Moses, there's nothing that says the godly people couldn't have eaten pork and shellfish and everything else. So God has certain seasons for certain laws. But today, yes, it's wrong to marry your sister, but that's the way God designed it at the beginning.
If I could jump in there just to say one more thing about Cain getting his wife, that, we read in the Scripture what's recorded, but I think there's a lot that is not in there. And so, we just kind of got to highlight, you know, of Cain, Abel. But, you know, had we got a more, detailed history, it probably would go into, description as to, where they got their wives from, the children that they had. So I think that, we look at what we read in the scripture and we say that, well, this is all that there is. But there probably was a lot more history that was recorded.
Right, and we take that by faith, that what's in there, what's not in there, God knows what that is.
Right.